So much love. This is Emakhet, and welcome to another episode of the Awakened Dreamer Summit, where we're talking about why it is that dreaming and visioning is important for our waking life. I am here with Ashel Seasunz, who is the chief strategist of Hip Hop is Green and the 10th element of hip hop. So, welcome, Ashel. Thank you for being a part of this summit.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yay. So I'd love to just talk with you today a little bit about the health movement and why it's important to take care of our physical health in order to nurture our dreams. So I wonder for you, like, why do you feel it's important to take care of our bodies in regards to dreaming and our inner verse?
Yeah, I mean, well, in terms of health and wellness, we always talk about how like the cellular deficits or nutritional deficiency creates, visionary deficiency, or it creates, deficiency or lack consciousness. You know what I mean? So we connect those two together. So ultimately, like when we all may have dreams, but the locus of control is that we have in terms of actual physical, that we can dream without the physical, like necessarily, but we definitely realize that, when people are energized and when they're strong and they're healthy, and if mind, body, spirit, there's a magnetism to that manifestation, so, because it's all connected. So, in terms of, dreams in terms of the state, like from like a Langston Hughes point of view, like, dreams, like people acquiring a dream, reaching their dreams, not having their dreams deferred. Nutrition plays a very strong point in that. So the 10th element, hip hop, health and wellness, is all about getting people opportunity to really, the best chance and opportunity to be in their strength, their physical strength, and their mental and their spiritual strength to actually achieve their dreams, So, yeah.
Do you feel like you've had any dreams or visions in your life that have helped to support you in your mission and purpose in the world? Like whether that's a sleeping dream or just a waking vision or inner experience that's really supported your purpose and walk through life?
Yeah, I mean, one experience I had was working. I work with plant medicines a lot, and then so I was working with ayahuasca, which is a plant medicine that so a lot of people say it's like just dreaming awake, because it has it enhances, like it puts you in a theta wave, but also like your waking wave state is also activated at the same time. So, with that, it was more like, I'm having experiences literally in that space where I'm having, multidimensional communication, if you will, where I'm getting instructions and clarity around how to deal with illnesses that happen in my community, right? Which is sort of like a traditional shamanic like practice. There was people in the community that we, different people would always wear that hat of the shaman or the medicine person or the dreamer, but also, people wear the same hat, and different hats in the community as well. But like in that space, I was able to get clarity around from the medicine world, that one way to help shift things in an urban setting was to get the earth back into the bodies of the people in the community. And one way to do that was through like, juicing and, through to the superfoods and things of this nature. So I got instructions through, this like neo-shamanic, like the shamanic technology, plant technology. So that's one way to sort of like, metaphorically, but also in actual sense where it was in a dream state, waking, where I was getting information around how to best like serve the community. And one thing I was shown in that space was that getting that frequency of the earth and getting that live light that's in the plants into the body that helps activate the DNA codes that may somehow be like latent or just like sluggish, like the energy of the human being like sluggish and not able to actually be in the full potential space based off of what was being digested and served in the concrete, quote unquote, concrete jungle. So, allowing, people to be infused with certain situations where they have access to healthy foods wasn't just like something that okay, we can deal with obesity or whatever. It actually became a process, actually became a strategy for liberation.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing too is that, part of nurturing our inner environment and our visionary state is through the foods that we eat and taking in the most natural, high vibration foods that we can, and working with plant medicines in this way, whether it's visionary plants or also food plants. That the dream of the plants sort of connect us with the dream of the planet and the earth, which helps then align us in our purpose.
Indeed.
Yeah, so I wonder, like, for people watching this video who might not be on a very healthy diet, or maybe, aren't remembering their dreams and are interested in becoming more healthy, are there ways to just get started? Like, certain plants or certain medicines that people could work with to sort of begin to communicate with these plant allies in a gentle way?
Yeah, I mean, so I think what's interesting about your show is that, there's two different, there's like the dreams that sort of we talk about in terms of like, we tell the kids like, reach for your dreams matter, keep dreaming, this type of thing. But it's also what I'm hearing you say is there's like the dreaming, right? So like dreaming, like when you sleep and you rest and you sort of travel into this so like the native communities may even say like is the actual reality where we're dreaming. So I mean, I think there's a link between those two, but just to break it down, so like for one, in terms of like dreaming where you wanted to dream, one thing is just more so understanding like the power of consciousness. So like food to us in terms of what we do with hip hop is green, for example, is just a gateway to consciousness. So really, ultimately, where we're getting at is looking at the power of your mind, the power of your consciousness, power of your spirit, your soul, your ability to speak things into existence, your ability to just create what it manifests. So, and that's strictly your consciousness, your thoughts, your clarity. So the food is so when we talk about being able to achieve your dreams, or like if you have dreams and you want to guap out, you're trying to get your money up, you're trying to hustle to get certain things happen in your life, you have to have a healthy vehicle to do that. So you got to have your body. So that's just number one. Like health is number one. A lot of people say the 10th element of hip hop should be number one element of hip hop, right? So that one's a little bit more obvious, right? It's like, okay, well, I get that. You got to be healthy. A lot of people are starting to say that. And we create an umbrella and a vehicle for that conversation, get out larger to more and more audiences. But another thing is like, what you're saying is like sleep, right? And really, obviously getting in automatic regular levels of rest and things is appropriate for terms of just your clarity, your mental state. But also when we're sleeping, I mean, for me, what gives me the opportunity to be, to really tap into dreams is actually just commanding that I want to remember my dreams. Just saying before I go to bed, I want to remember my dreams, right? I want to create, I want to create this type of experience in my dream. So talking to your higher self, I call it hiring your higher self, right? And just having an experience, because there's a lot of like wisdom and like fluidity in your dreams that may get distorted in sort of quote unquote regular waking life. So there's a lot of wisdom that can be derived from that. So that's one thing one can do. Another thing that I do, I've done before actually. I've worked with mugwort before for dream enhancement. I also worked with the crystal kingdom a lot too. So I would have different crystals around my bed or whatever that would help me get into certain states. Man, the crystals I remember I worked with ruby. I remember working with garnet, which is it's almost like very similar. I sort of put those under the pillow. It's interesting when those things actually work. So it sort of enhances in the vivid nature of the dreams. Another thing is that I don't do is actually for memory dreams is like eat right before bed or have screens or cell phones right in front of my face before I'm going to sleep. So different things like that. There's things I'm sort of just remembering off head around like, okay, I want to remember my dreams. I want to have a healthy dream state. Obviously, we know like from scientifically speaking that having a certain, having clear REM is equated with feeling that restedness, like restful and like sort of regenerated. So, scientists really look at that rapid eye movement, which a lot of people equate with being also being in this dream state and traveling or doing whatever you're doing in the dream world. So that space of actually getting into that space of actually having an adequate amount of time of stress as well relates to having a healthy dream world as well. So it's an interesting, conversation to weave those two things. Okay, well, how do we have a healthy dream? And then how do we create that healthy dream in the world? Yeah. So I like how you're saying, like the plant dream or the earth dream, because everything essentially is a dream and we're sharing dream space in waking life. So it's a cool conversation.
Yeah, I feel that. And you were mentioning, artificial light and not eating before we go to sleep. And those are all really important things to recognize to get healthy sleep so that we can get into the dream time itself. And like artificial light affects our circadian rhythms, which is a natural rhythm in the body that tells us, that triggers the sleep release to tell us when to sleep and when to wake up and that kind of work. So it is important that we care for our physical bodies here in the waking time, because it is a dream within a dream. It's a collective dream that we're sharing with the dream of the planet. And when we're in tune with that and our bodies are in tune, we're more likely to get restful sleep and therefore be able to tap into that amazing resource, the dream. And I've had people come in through the council actually talking about particularly foods and medicines that come in the dream time. Like I had a friend who she was suffering from shingles, and she had a dream where she was eating avocados and it was really, really good. And she woke up and looked into avocados, and that's a treatment for shingles. It's really helpful for skin problems. Or I had a friend who was told in her dream that she was eating too much olive oil, and she was just like eating crazy amounts of olive oil. So she backed up off the oils at that time. So the body itself has a lot of wisdom to share in the dreams, I've found. And I've oftentimes asked, like, what would be the best medicine for me? And I've been shown, like, a plant with little blue flowers, and I didn't recognize it. So I looked it up in Waking Life and found out it was skullcap, which was really good for the nervous system. And I was going through some nervous stuff. So it's really such a vast encyclopedia and resource of information in the dream time. And there's this mirroring effect where it feels like it's important to nurture our health here so that we can tap into that.
Yeah.
So what's your relationship with your dreams like? Like, do you tend to remember your dreams or like apply them? Are there any specific dream stories you have that have been meaningful for you in life? I know you mentioned you've sat in some plant medicine visionary ceremonies, but have you had any sleeping dreams that have felt like significant to you, have helped guide you in your waking life?
Yeah, I've had so many. One thing that comes to mind right now, I remember having, because it's just a dramatic effect of it. I remember I practiced Sukya Madhikari, which means universal principles of divine light. So I was giving light to someone, someone's house. Actually, an ex-girlfriend of mine was, dealing with alcoholism, and her roommate was dealing with that, actually. her roommate more so actually than her. And, you know, and so I was over her house and she was like, Ash, like, you know, I need some help. My roommate she's going through it. And she was an artist, you know, so, you know, she had like art on her wall and all the stuff was going on in her space. And she was just trying to focus on her art and it was kind of distracting, you know. And I remember I was like, you know, well, and she felt sort of tormented by whatever energy was happening in her space. She was like, I can't focus. Like, the energy in our house is not cool. Can you come through? Can you give light? So I came through, you know, I gave some light to the space, just to the walls, started chanting, doing the work like that. And, you know, it was like doing some forceful chanting. And then I left and then I went home like an hour later and I thought, this was like in the afternoon, like 3:00 in the afternoon. And I started feeling really sleepy and I was like, man, I feel like I got laid down. I don't know what's up. I just feel really, you know, kind of tired. And I went to sleep and I immediately, you know, I'm immediately sort of, you know, was into this space where she was in, I saw like this person, my ex-girlfriend was in a church and there was this woman there who was like a nun. And this is all gonna make sense later. But I remember sitting in this church and there was this eerie feeling in the church. And this nun sort of got up from where she was sitting in the front pews and she walked towards me and then she like jumped up in the air and made herself really, really big and scary and her eyes were missing. And she had like these webs over her eyes. It was kind of scary. And she was like, like this. And I started giving light to her. And it was like this light battle in that space. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. So then, and it was like, it was like dramatic superhero type. And when I woke up and I felt like sort of, and what happened in the dream is that at some point she grabbed my arm in the dream and I was giving light and she grabbed my arm and I was like, like let go of my arm, like, and I was like giving her light and it was this thing. And I sort of woke up and my arm felt like it had an imprint in it. And I felt my arm felt kind of weak. And I was like, whoa, what happened to my arm? So I went to talk to her about it. I was like, yo, like, what's your relationship with like the church and Catholicism? She was like, oh my God, I had these crazy, she was from England. She was like, yeah, I had these crazy experiences growing up with the Catholic Church. And then my roommate had some stuff like that happen. And, you know, it was this wild story she was bringing up about, you know, her relationship with the Catholic Church and the roommate's relationship with the Catholic Church. And so what I discovered is that I was sort of removing some entities or something going on with that. And they didn't really like that. And so it became a situation where they was like, who is this guy? Let's get rid of this dude. Like this dude's. So I was giving her light and giving a space light and I was moving what was like tormenting her. And I sort of interfered and I ended up being like part of like this, you know, this battle, if you will, between the light and the dark. So from there, I was able to talk to her about, you know, reconciliation on a relationship with Catholicism and also, you know, really go deeper in the conversation around what she was actually running from and why it was allowed into her space, why she, like, some part of her allowed that into her experience. Mm-hmm. So that's one example when I can say, like, you know, there's a crossover between the dream space and the physical, like, within, you know, one day of actually, like, going into a space where it was actual physical interaction. I mean, I've had so many experiences. I've had experiences where, you know, we'll take a midday. A lot of times, like, midday naps were really interesting to me because they're really visionary and they, like, sort of force you to go to bed. It's like, yo, you should take a nap right now. I'm like, why? Like, I'm fine. And I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, I'm getting sleepy. Oh, man, I'm going to bed. And then you go to sleep. And then, boom, next thing you know, I remember I had this total crazy experience of, like, this 0 point experience. And I drew it I have, and I'm gonna start releasing some of my visual art at some point soon. I have it laying around, but I drew this whole experience out. But essentially, what happened is I had this experience of that the earth went dark for 3 days or something, and then I knew all this in the dream, and it was 3 days of darkness. And before that, it went dark. There was this portal to open up into the sky, and it was how this geometric figure things were happening, all these lights and stuff was happening, there was some portal happening, and that was an energetic shift that was happening on the earth in general. And there was people on the streets that were going crazy, and it was, you know, and some people were excited and feeling elated, and other people were just going nuts, right? And I noticed that people had different experiences. People were living in different dreams, and then boom, it went dark, completely dark. And then after that, I remember coming out of it, and it was almost like a utopian experience, almost paradisal experience. So I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. So I started investigating, sort of photon light band, and 2012. This was years ago. A lot of different phenomena. I started finding that same dream in different stories around when you pole shifting, that, what happened on the planet, what would happen to the electronics, what would happen to the consciousness, what would happen on the planet in general with terms of frequency shifting, the Schumann resonance shifting. So I found all these different pieces of what was happening in that dream, in the noosphere, in the thought field, in legends and prophecies, etc. So I have a lot of stuff like that happen where I'm traveling. I'm straight up knowing that I'm having out of body experiences. I'm over my body, and I'm like, hey, I'm over my body, and I'm in top of my ceiling, and then I'm like, whoa, like I want to fly around the planet. So I go outside the planet. I can come into the planet anywhere I want to go, and I can do work like that. So I mean, yeah, I mean, for me, what it lets me know is just the power of consciousness, and that it's really the body, it's as temporal as it may be, is a vehicle, but yet the soul and the spirit, these things are transcendent, but yet in the same way, we nurture the body and the mind, the soul and the spirit can lift to new heights. And I also had experiences where when I was doing sort of dream work, where I was sharing dreams a lot, I was starting to learn certain symbology within dreams that related to my personal life. Cars being like relationships, or like houses being representing of different relationships, and my relationship with myself, and different compartments and rooms being representative of different parts of myself. And so it'd be a long conversation, but yeah, I mean, the dream space is a powerful one to engage in, and a lot of wisdom comes from it, for sure. Speaking about like things where people are getting information in the same way, I mean, the shamans of the old, they would like, okay, they would go into dream state or static states, and just really as a survival thing, like, okay, where do we need to sleep tonight that'd be safe, from predators or whatever, and they would just have to figure that out. And then so they would go into the space and take whatever they need to take, and actually go in that dream space to figure it out. So there's like inducing that space as well. And I've heard a lot of many stories of people getting diagnoses around things before they went to the doctor, or before the doctor detected, or even the doctor didn't detect it, and they had certain things and they can deal with it before they had to do some chemotherapy or something. Or or even I've had experiences of meditative dream states where I was able to communicate with the spirit of my unborn son and get his name and get his purpose and get his mission. Or, I mean, it can go, I mean, it can go deep, for sure.
Yeah, I love how there was a lot there, but I love how you mentioned prophetic dreams and visions and dreams as a primal aspect of survival. And there's this one stage of sleep called sleep spindles, where it's like we'll be in REM sleep, and then all of a sudden the wave frequency will just spike.
Mm.
Sounds like people who shake a lot in their sleep or will jump back out, jump out of bed. And a lot of scientists have been researching, like, why do we have this phenomena of the sleep spindles? And
Mm.
one of the theories is that it is for survival. Like, if we're outside and a predator comes, or
Mm.
the fire goes out, or there's going to be a flash flood, it like gives us that opportunity to sort of jump out of the dream time for just a millisecond to make sure everything's okay before we come in.
Mm-hmm.
And people still experience that. I found who are having anxiety in waking life, they'll tend to have more sleep spindles if they don't feel safe where they're sleeping. So that's always kind of an interesting phenomena to work with people. Is like, okay, it looks like if you're jumpy or shaky or are jumping out of bed really quickly, it could be an indicator that in waking life feeling a little bit anxious, or like also like sometimes people have trouble going to sleep because of anxiety around self-acceptance, like the herb valerian.
Mm.
Valerian root on a metaphysical level is really helpful for self-acceptance and emotional healing, self-love and acceptance. And so I think that's why it helps with insomnia oftentimes, because if we're not fully embracing our lives and that we did enough today and we accomplished what we could accomplish, it's harder to get to sleep. So it's interesting to just look at that sleep symbolically too, and as this sort of this natural function. Dreams is this very natural function that we have for all kinds of purposes, but including just our very own survival. And you mentioned prophetic dreams too, and it's fascinating. There's a guy in our council who particularly is studying prophetic dreams, and he documents dream reports. So he studies our council and the reports that come through our council as well to document, how many people had a dream of a flood in the past 6 months, and then when did the flood happen, or an earthquake, or catastrophic events of that nature. I mean, there's premonition dreams, which are more like a forewarning of something that might happen personally. I got in a car accident, maybe I'll go a different way than I'd
Mm-hmm.
usually go, or I dreamt of this health concern, and so I'm going to start taking medicine for that. But prophetic dreams are more like on a collective level, like in the
Mm-hmm.
collective consciousness. And this Robert Moss teaches about this, about the Iroquois tradition, dream ways, and with prophetic dreams to ask the question, could this dream indicate a possible future, like the 3 days of darkness that you mentioned?
Right.
Could this indicate a possible future? And if it does, what action can we take now to either reach that potential future that maybe we desire, or to prevent an unwanted future also that we don't? So the beautiful thing about prophetic dreams and dreams for survival is that they give us the opportunity. Like, prophecy is not set in stone, it's often given to us so that we can take creative action and make choices either towards that prophecy that we wish, or to tame an unwanted future that perhaps we don't want to see happen. So
Mm-hmm.
it feels like you have abilities sort of, more than, like, there's different levels or template levels of dream reality. And like, some dreams are more visitation dreams. We can visit with, unborn children, or those who have passed on, or ancestral energy, or various interdimensional beings. And then oftentimes we'll dream also of beings that can represent aspects of our own personality, like archetypes mirroring our experience. Like you mentioned, when I dream of the house means this to me, or this car indicates this to me. So we can create like our own personal dream journals or dream dictionaries in that way, which, we're not dream council. We're definitely not like a dream dictionary type of school of thought, because it can really limit our relation. Like, one saying I like to say a lot is that it's not so much in the vision in itself, but in the relationship with the vision where we find the medicine. So
Right. Mm.
like, we can create our own personal dream dictionaries. Like, when I dream of this particular house, it's indicating to me this, and sort of set that up, for our psyche so that we understand and can feel into that. So I love all of what you just said. Thanks for sharing some of your dreams. It's really fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, with Suki Marikari, we the insomnia in that particular system has to deal with ancestral, like spirit attachment, and sometimes it could be ancestral, not necessarily um, sort of malevolent in nature, but just out of just ignorance of the dimensionality of like, hey, you're actually attached to this person in the physical realm, and you need to be passed, move on, that type of thing, or that type of situation where it's sort of like relationships between family members and things like that. So sometimes what we do to deal with that, though, we do a lot of light to the back of the head in the spiritual purification, and there's like these actual sort of points in the back of the head where like entities may attach or whatever, and we sort of make sure we give light to that. And then people are able to rest. After that, sometimes because of, they're able to like, just release that connection between those particular ancestors or entities or whatever, which is interesting too as relates to dreams, because this, the place behind like the clarity, going back to that clarity we were talking about in terms of that this is really hard. These particular points, wish I could show you. Those particular points, they're really hard. In this system with Suki Marikari, that can be indicative of like, capacity for like attachment, and so we do and give a lot of light there in that space. I just wanted to say that for some reason.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
Yeah.
So you're saying if it feels like it's really hard when you press on these.
Yeah, there's like it's like they come down like this, two points on either side of your head and the neck. And when they're really soft, that means there's like a lot of clarity. And actually, there's points in the back of the head too in Suki Marikari, which is this indigenous Japanese practice, which means the universal principles of divine light, which this metaphorically deals with vision, but also vision. So the capacity to see big picture when this is clear and not gunked up with spiritual toxins. And this spot right here is another spot. So that can be really soft. And then so like what you're saying about anxiety, appreciating oneself, I'm just seeing a map of how those things connect. So we usually, when that's happening, when someone can't really hear themselves, right? It can be another fact, or there's chatter and monkey mind type of thing. Literally like the monkey on someone's back type of thing. It's an actual, thing where there's something on someone's back in an interdimensional space where we can clear that and allow folks to get some rest. So, it's not too far from reality. And then go a couple of synopses over. Some shamans talk with people they can look and see like, well, they can go on a psych ward and it's like all these people have schizophrenia, or this person has this type of mental illness. And they would say, well, actually, they're just in a stage of development, understanding around their ability to communicate, but they interdimensionally or ancestrally or whatever, but their progress on that road has been thwarted based off of the ignorance of the current society and the worldview around them having communication or whatever. So this, the dream space and just studying it and really looking at like you have really opens up this conversation around like we are not alone, and we're not alone, but also we are interconnected beyond the third dimension, for sure, right? So, yeah, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it reminds me of the dream story you shared with the nun, and her eyes had webs in them, right? So like,
yeah,
it reminds me of these 2 points and like being able to see clearly and just the symbolism of that, of like how it feels like sometimes when I was a kid and I would like visit a church and go in for a service, I'd feel like I was sort of hovering over my body, like almost like I would hover out of my body and then programs would be put in, or I'd become a host body for other energies to step
Mm.
in. I wonder, like, if this were my dream experience or my experience in feeling this space, I feel that energy around the religious programming that was coming through, and especially with alcoholism, because alcohol, is called spirits.
Right, right,
Times like our spirit will leave, especially like during blackout alcoholism, the spirit will leave the body and host the spirit of the alcohol in the body in return. So just interesting
right.
to leave all of that together in that dream.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah, a lot of so addictions, things like that are leave people susceptible to like entities and attachments and all of that, and which is one could argue that's why there's a lot of programming now in our like culture. So one cannot be as clear and as open with their own intuitive sort of like knowledge and wisdom, and they can be more like manipulated. Same thing with like foods, things like that too. Like these things directly affect the consciousness immediately, and we eat all day. So yeah, I mean, I actually now thinking about talking to her about it. I remember she mentioned that um, they used to like hit her or something in Catholic school or something like that. She mentioned something like that was happening. Um,
Yeah, and it's that kind of trauma can cause us to
yeah,
disassociate from the body because it doesn't
yeah,
feel safe to be in our body anymore. And that's why it's so important to take care of our physical health and reclaim this space so that our soul, when it returns from dreaming or returns from sleep, is able to fully inhabit this space so that um, we don't host these interdimensional entities, or we don't attract the same kind of energies to us, because while there are interdimensional entities that mean harm, there's also helpful ancestors and energies and beings and spirits that are attracted to those souls who are fully embodied and fully present in their form. They don't need to come in without permission, or come in without at all, really. They can just come in and support as well. So I feel like that is why it's so important to care for our physical health here on Earth in the waking world, where we're grounded, grounded into this dream of the planet, so that when we go out and we travel these many, many planes of existence, we have a really strong root and a grounding cord to come back into. We're going to attract different experiences. Like, I've heard a lot of dream reports of people who have nightmares after they eat really bad quality food. They'll
right,
eat a Philly cheesesteak and then have nightmares all night, because we're also processing not only our waking life experience, but the foods that we eat and the experiences of the beings that we eat. So if we're eating cows that were in a lot of pain and fear when they died, and then we take that into our body and go to sleep, we're going to be processing that pain and fear for also the animals, or whatever foods that we're eating too. So
yeah. No, that's very real. I mean, so you're the dream of the cow that is being slaughtered, is in your hamburger,
mm-hmm.
you know. So it's like, what I mean. So that sort of transfers over to that. So then you digest that, and then that becomes part of your DNA experience, of your existence, which can, like I have people in my family that work with, recently, unfortunately passed away recently, and I was like, trying to get her some vibrational stuff that she just wasn't really ready for energetically, but like, what do you work at? She's like, I work at Tyson Foods in the South, and there's a certain, they're like slaughtering, animals pretty much. And so I was like, oh, and then, she that was developing cancer. She developed cancer. I think there's definitely a correlation between that. I remember I had a Vipassana experience where I was a 10-day Vipassana retreat, and I was eating some food and had some lighter food, and I was having these really deep meditations, and it's beautiful. And then I had some spicy food. Like, I was just like trying it out. I was like, whoa, I want some spicy. I like spicy food. and it was like spicy and sugary or something at the same time. It wasn't sugar, but it was something like sweet. And I remember sitting down because you're in that space of Vipassana, you're meditating, you're very like examining yourself. It's like self-examination. So you kind of knowledge of self is the purpose. And so you're sitting there, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I started getting really upset. I started seeing flames and fire, and I'm like getting like I'm just getting, and I was like, this is hilarious because it's not necessary that when I go eat some spicy Mexican food, that I'm feeling upset or whatever. It's just that it let me know in that moment that there was a relationship. It was interesting because I was like, whoa, this is. Or when I had a lot of sweet stuff, I was feeling very like sort of sexual and sensual. Like I was sitting there by myself. We were all sitting there by ourselves. I'm having like past lovers, all the stuff happening on my mind. I'm just like trying to shake it. I'm like, and I'm like sitting there like, and then to see it was like, I'm like, wow. So then, I like describing it as the dream of the honey dream, or the fight, the pepper, the dream of the pepper. In the relationship between that, like you said, a relationship between that and whatever was going on within me in that moment, that sort of activates different images. So yeah.
I've heard that from an Ayurvedic teacher that when you crave sweets, it's like we're craving sweetness in life. When we crave bitter, it's because we're craving that more bitter aspect of life. And he said something like, in sweet out bitter, in bitter out sweet too. That there's when we process something, like as we process something sweet, it becomes more bitterness for our body. When we process something bitter, it's actually sweeter for our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the dreamscape is like that too. Like dreams are kind of like our soul's way of digesting information.
Right.
It's like our soul's way of digesting the spiritual food that we're receiving, and that includes that spiritual food which is made manifest in physical food, which I really feel like the message I want to bring forth to the viewers of this summit in this particular episode is just to like check in with your diet, feel into what we're riffing on today, feel into how maybe there could be some adjustments to be able to nurture your dream life through your waking life and through the things that you're putting in your body. So thanks for helping facilitate that and sharing all your wisdom and experiences, Ashel. It's such a pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And then I think, the collective dream, like now we're getting, Wonder Woman, we're getting a lot of like sort of collective dream, opportunities to like, from the collective unconscious to look at like how we can empower like the feminine in our lives, So I think this conversation is really powerful. And that's also food, what we watch, what we listen to, so totally.
Yeah, so I'd love to connect people to your projects, is there any links or any way people can find more about your work? Who's watching?
Yeah, I got just a lot of things going on. I think one thing that's really popping right now is this Uber Rapper, uberrapper.com, because this has all my videos, and it's sort of like my web portal right now. So I'm at Uber Rapper at Gmail, uberrapper.com. But obviously also we promote like superfoods, Superium, so just connection do that. So we do cleanses with people and get people right on that level. Which is like, I don't even know how, like I'm up right now because I went to bed at like 6 a.m. with Amma and got like 2 hours of sleep. But I took a bunch of aminos, went to my son's graduation. So yeah, the superfoods, yeah, really it's a way for the body to work less, but get more energy and get more boost. Speaking of rest. And I think that's the main way to get at me right now. Yeah.
Google like Hip Hop is Green, or how do we?
Yeah, hiphopisgreen.com is definitely a way to get in contact with that national movement, which is really going to be cool. I mean, it'd be great to bring you in to the spots we have around the country so we can have, like, you know, we're really wanting to create an umbrella for all these different conversations for solutions and solutionarians, and also our inner world. That's literally what's in the 10th element of hip hop, talks about our inner world as it impacts the external reality. So you're bringing in that wisdom of the times. It's time, sort of time for that understanding. It's always been in hip hop, but we're just bringing it out more now and allowing the science and the wizards and the physicists and all those people to connect and converge and deliver that to the community.
Well, thank you for your service and for your time. I know that rest is really valuable, so I appreciate you staying up and sharing your wisdom with all of us. And I just really encourage the viewers of this video in the future to check out all of your amazing work and to get in tune with Ashel and all of the magic he brings to our waking dreams. So thank you again.
And watch Waking Life.
Yeah, watch Waking Life.
It's my movie. Yeah. All right.